All right, good morning and welcome to the Pulse Research Best Practices webinar. Today we'll be featuring real estate with Andrew Smith from Metro Vancouver.
Hi everybody.
Good morning, Angie. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yourself?
I'm well. All right, so Andrew Smith was the Pulse Sales Blitz winner, the overall winner with the most Pulse points. He did that by making, I think, about 500 presentations. And that's mostly what we're going to cover today, is how he kind of systematically targeted real estate firms, and was able to present to a large number of agents. Out of those efforts, I believe you developed a new section for real estate for your publication. Is that correct, Andrew?
That's correct, a daily feature.
Okay, great. And so let's get into how you did that. Okay, so from my understanding is one of the keys to your success was targeting the brokers first. You mentioned that brokerage firms were the gatekeepers to all the agents. That allowed you access to the agents. You're able to get meetings with those firms. Those brokerage firms were able to promote and distribute the materials, both promoting the meetings, and you were able to do kind of one presentation in a room to many agents. Would you like
Absolutely.
to expand upon that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously based in Vancouver, BC, for those that don't know. And here in Vancouver, we have 13,500 realtors. So the chance of sitting down with 13,500 realtors, even in the next few years, is very, very unrealistic. So what we did was we started off by finding out exactly what brokerages were in the area and tagging each one of those brokerages, creating relationships, going down and meeting with the actual broker themselves, because the broker controls the realtors. So all of the realtors have to report to the broker in some way or another. So I went down there, met with the brokers, gave them the information on Pulse. They all liked it because, to be honest, it's giving them the data that they need. If they know how many people are looking primarily to sell their properties, anyone can obviously bring information on buying, but selling is what's always key to realtors. In most cases, if they've got a sales contract with someone, they're not going to go anywhere else. Whereas if you're actually looking to buy something, you may have 3 or 4 realtors looking for you. You shouldn't, but it does happen. So for most realtors, getting the fact of the sale is job number one. Is actually selling the property. So why did I sit down there with the Pulse research, get information, obviously advise them? It was purely what we had for Metro News, which is where I work, and basically gave the information on the stats for the area, knowing how many realtors were in, for example, Surrey, in Burnaby, how many realtors were in BC in general, going into all those figures and with as much information as I could. That was what opened the doors.
Okay, great. And now let's just go into a little bit more detail about the process. You mentioned targeting the brokers, so I assume you initially created a call list of the top or all the brokerage firms, and I believe you counted, including each branch as a separate contact. So how many brokers did you mention were in your market?
Oh, blimey,
firms?
there's at least, I mean, for example, Remax has, I mean, everyone here I'm sure has heard of Remax, but for example, we have Remax, I think, Realty Lifestyle, Remax All Advantage, Remax Team 3000. There's all different ones. So I think we had about 40 in total across Remax, Sutton, and I believe Dexter and Royal Page.
Okay. And I assume you initially had to contact them by phone. So how many calls were you needed to make per day?
Well, to actual brokerages, normally I'd make about 20 phone calls, because it's very difficult to reach the broker. And obviously, job number one, you have to find out who the broker is. It does change quite often. And in many, many cases, the brokerages actually have several brokerages have the same person managing them. So it's always good to kind of grease that wheel, take them out for lunch, go down there with a bottle of wine, just kind of make yourself known, and kind of, I know it sounds kind of cliche, but kind of grease the wheels a little bit.
Okay. And one of the key things was making an offer or a unique offer to those firms.
Yeah, I mean, basically, they need a reason. I mean, don't get me wrong, they want their realtors to do well because they make money from their realtors doing well. But obviously, they also want to make sure that their company is given exposure as opposed to somebody else. So what we'd say is, look, if you have realtors sign up, we will give you, for example, 10% discount for those realtors, or for every page you book, we'll give you a quarter page to actually talk about the brokerage. So once again, that gives them exposure that they wouldn't normally have.
Okay. And then from that, I mean, obviously you're kind of having a conversation, a dialogue with those brokerage firms. And with that, you're able to find out, what you needed to do, especially for them, correct?
Exactly. I mean, for example, one company, I won't mention the name, but I had a long conversation with them, and they told me we don't do any print advertising. Once I showed them the actual pulse research, I mean, this isn't even including my numbers, but when I showed them the pulse research, they loved what they saw, and they came back and said, well, actually, all of our realtors have $100 pretty much a week that they can spend, and because of that, we create a new feature that comes out every week from the middle of March. And it's because of obviously getting that conversation, finding out from the brokers what their people have. Because there's always going to be brokers that got a couple of hundred, and brokers got tens of thousands of dollars to spend. It's important to know what their particular realtors have as disposable income. You don't want to pitch them a $15,000 campaign if the most they can do is $1,000 a year.
And so in those initial conversations, you're targeting the broker of record, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And then one of the great things with that was that the brokerage firms are able to promote that directly to their agents and realtors. So through that, I mean, you were able to reach approximately how many agents?
Oh, blimey, I think, I put down 500 on that, but to be honest, it was significantly more. I mean, we reached 1,000 realtors with the actual marketing manager of BC for that actual brokerage company, sent out to all of their realtors, which was more than 1,000.
Okay.
I think in total, we probably reached about 2,000 different realtors.
And
when you're getting an email from the actual broker themselves as a realtor, you can open it. 99% of the time, you can open it. You're going to come out with comments, you're going to come out with questions, and that's, once again, getting that dialogue going, finding out what they need.
And so you were actually able to meet with, in person, I think you estimated about 500 agents, is that correct?
500 agents. And what I do is I find out, okay, who's going to be in this morning? So I'd go down with the pulse reports, go down with information, obviously, on Metro, and I'd basically go to each of the offices. In some cases, set up a room, and the realtors would come in and sit down. I'd basically give a group pitch. Obviously, doing group pitches is a lot easier than doing one-to-ones. I mean, I'm sure everyone here on the phone has done countless one-to-one phone calls with realtors and probably other businesses too. But for us, getting as many of them into a room and in one place at the same time was the most effective way of doing it.
Okay, great. And so that kind of leads us into working with the agents directly. So you mentioned introduction from the broker. They're setting up the meetings. Agents are more likely to attend those. Agents who did not attend your presentations, the material was sent to them. I believe you created unique presentations for each individual agent, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, what we do is we'd speak to the agents first, we'd speak to the brokerages, we'd find out as much as we can about the actual agent before we give them out. Because if we see everyone from bus stops to billboards, we're going to go with a much larger campaign. But if we see that you're on page 5 of a Google search, we know obviously you've not got the money to kind of really promote yourself. We'd go in a much smaller campaign. Then once the conversation started, we may find out actually you've not got, for example, $1,000 a month. You've got, for example, $10,000 a month, and we then change the campaign accordingly. As you'll see, a couple of mine have got 1 or 2 different campaigns because we initially pitch them one. They come back and say, actually, we have more money than we told you about. So a lot of people will lowball you and say, oh, we only have X amount of a budget. When they actually start seeing the numbers and they see what they can do, all of a sudden more money appears out of the woodwork.
And so you mentioned there's like maybe 13,000 agents in the market. How did you use that information when you're talking to individual agents?
Number one, fear of missed opportunity. Basically, even if you work for Remax in the same office, you're not necessarily colleagues. You may get on, you may have a good friendship, etc. But bottom line, it's all about the money. If the person next door to you in your office gets that sale, you don't. If they get that listing, that means you haven't got that listing. So when I go in there, I'd sit down with people, and then the people in the office next to them would say, "Oh, hi, can I see you too?" Because they want to know what their competition were doing. By creating that element of fear, it really had a strong impact. I mean, we created 2 features, one of which was hot properties, which was showing properties that had open houses for the weekend. That proved very, very popular. We also created one called Real Estate All Stars. And the Real Estate All Stars feature, we broke down Vancouver into certain areas. And we'd have one realtor for each area. So once again, that exclusivity, the limited availability, proved very, very popular.
Okay, and you mentioned that there was also competition, of course, within the firm itself. There are other agents within the same firm.
Exactly, as I was saying, they may well be friends with the person in the office next to them. But bottom line, if the person gets a listing, that means they don't. And obviously, you've got to ask yourself, why are they getting that listing? I mean, 13,500 realtors. I'd say to people, look, where are you advertising? And 99% of them say, I'm on the internet. I'm on the internet. I don't need print. I'm on the internet. At which point, after I'd kind of given a fake kind of giggle, I'd say, okay, right, let's go to Google right now. Let's put in Vancouver Realtor. And obviously, I'll do running because it changes literally every day. But just to give you an idea, hold on. As soon as my computer decides it wants to work, Vancouver Realtor, 652,000 results. Now, obviously, there's not 652,000 realtors in BC. There's actually roughly 13,500. That number's increasing all the time. When people see that number, they realize that their little website isn't really going to get exposure. And if they're on the first 2 pages, they're not going to get seen. I mean, one person actually told me, well, I'm on the internet. If people put in my name, they're actually going to see me. I'm like, okay, so what's the chance of actually, let's say the name was Bob Jones, putting Bob Jones, unless they know you exist, they're not going to search for you as a realtor. They're going to go online, they're going to put in Vancouver Realtor or Surrey Realtor or whatever area that they're in, and they're going to go for the first 1 or 2 people. Because people don't want to look through a lot. Unless you're actually getting a referral from a friend, there's way too much competition. And one of the great things for us as advertisers is that for real estate, there are no barriers to entry. Anyone can go out there and basically take the course and become a realtor. You know, it's not like you're suddenly selling soft drinks where you obviously need a lot of money. Becoming a realtor is very, very easy to do. And so one of the things is kind of focusing people say, hey, yes, you may be around for the next 10 years, but these people are coming up and coming, these people are up and coming. And give examples of people who appeared in the paper, if you've got that, and what kind of results they had. I mean, have that conversation with them. You were in the paper, did you get any results? I mean, I've had people say absolutely none. I've had a couple who said, actually, I've got a $2 million listing. So obviously, I know we refer to people who got the $2 million listing rather than people who got none. And once again, it gives that positive reinforcement.
Mm-hmm. And I think you touched on working with their budget. Was there a typical budget that agents said they had?
Well, all of the agents say, I don't have any money. Basically, I don't have the money. All my money has basically been allocated. But obviously, once I started speaking to them, most agents can afford at least $500 a month, which may not seem a lot, but as I said, there's 13,500 realtors in BC. I'm sure where the people in this call are based, there's probably 1,000 plus realtors in their area too. So if you get 10, 20 realtors, that's 5,000, 10,000 a month coming in just from realtors. They have the money. They need to market, and they should be spending it with papers.
Okay, great. And any other considerations when you're talking to the agents?
No, I mean, principally, it was kind of asking the question. I mean, I'm sure everyone here on this conversation has heard the same story, print is dead. You know, print is dead. And, you know, one of the things that I did was when someone said to me, it's too expensive. It's absolutely too expensive. You know, I'm not going to pay, for example, $300 to have an advert appear. When I can go online, I can get X number. I can get for $6 to get 1,000 impressions. I said, great. Well, we have 300,000 readers. Okay, so basically, if we were to charge you, basically for every impression you got $6, okay, every 1,000, that'd be $1,800. So I'd point out to them the fact that yes, they may think that $6 per 1,000 is a great deal, okay, but people aren't going to look at those banners 95% of the time. But we're actually significantly cheaper. In reality, we're 9 times cheaper. We were about 75 cents or something like per 1,000. Mm-hmm. And once again, that made people realize because they hear the number $6 per 1,000, they're not only buying 1,000, they're buying campaigns when they're buying online. So once again, pointing out the fact that it's a CPM and working out what CPM would be in regards to your readership also proved successful.
Okay, great. And then let's move into the one page itself. I mean, how did you actually use the one page in your talks to agents? One of the things that we really stress is focusing on getting listings, not selling a home.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing I always point out is I use the teaser, but to be honest, not that much. The teaser for me, when I go on the phone, I'd create my own teaser, and I'd kind of say, look, there are, I think there's 21,372 Metro readers looking to buy or sell a home. And if they're looking to buy a home, the chances are they're looking to sell something too. And so then obviously I'd focus on the figures, how much money is actually in the market. And obviously I think it was like 3 people we needed. I think it's this one of mine. It's not. Basically, it's I think it was like 3 or 4 people who need to actually do a $12,000, $15,000 campaign. One of the ladies here, Megan, who basically just started, she went on her very first meeting in the second week, and she sold a $10,000 campaign Because the guy said, look, there's a lot of business out there, and if I can get 3 in a year, then I've made my money back. And he goes, if I can't get 3 in a year, I may as well quit because I'm doing something wrong. So we'd go on there primarily for the selling of the property, getting the listings, but also it doesn't hurt to get the buying too. And if people can see you in the paper and they see you consistently, it has connotations of success. If you don't see anyone advertising anywhere, chances are you think they're not doing very well, obviously, in their career. And so we kind of push that element too.
Okay. And then how did you use the value of a customer? Because we use about 9,750 for the value of a real estate customer. The idea of that is just to use it as a commission on an average home sale in the U.S. Obviously, that would probably be a low number in your market.
Yeah, kind of. I think the average condo is about 600,000, and the minimum price for a townhouse is $1 million. So basically, I kind of say, look, I'd go in there with these prices, which I knew would be less than what they're getting. Mm-hmm. And the person would say, well, actually, no, I'd get double that. Okay, so we're looking at 4. In reality, you need 2.
Right.
So I'd always kind of downplay it. If I go in there knowing exact figures, they'll say, okay, well, you know exactly what I've got here too. I need 2 people. Okay, that's not so bad. But if I'm saying you need 4 and all of a sudden actually no, I need half of that, it looks like obviously they're informing me in a way. And also they're thinking, oh, well, I need a lot less than he thinks. So this is crazy. I have 21,372. I need 2. I need 2 people to either buy or sell a home from me, and I've made my money back. That's a phenomenal opportunity.
Okay, great. And so anything you want to expand upon as far as the ad package itself or the typical ad you sold?
I mean, the typical ad we sold was, one of the things I do in new business development is if we see there's a market for something, I'll create a feature. So obviously, when we realized how many realtors are out here, we actually, as I said before, create the hot properties feature. We create the real estate all-stars feature. And we'd say, for example, if you book 8 of these, you'd get a free basically piece, like a content piece for a third of a page. So we'd convince people to go for, like say, going once or twice, booking 8. Obviously, in the value of this other sponsored piece, about $800. So the pack would cost them $2,000, but they're getting about $2,800 worth of value. So once again, giving them an added value, giving them a reason to do it now, and once again, making a limited kind of piece. Even the new feature we've got right now, which is the service territory piece coming out in March, we're limiting it to 12 realtors per day. So once again, 12 realtors per day, if you imagine a different every week, is 60. Okay, sorry, if different every day would be 60. But once again, that's 60 out of 13,500. So once again, it's not necessarily about the ad package. It's more about the focusing on the fact of how many people are there, knowing the actual marketplace in each industry, for example, real estate, knowing what their competitors are like, knowing, obviously, in Vancouver, you can't sit on a bus, you can't sit on a park bench, can't go anywhere without seeing realtor ads. And so obviously just kind of making it a part of their thought process.
Okay, so moving on, I think you touched on this a little bit, the common objections that you got from agents, but it's probably worth covering again, and people can ask questions about some maybe common objections they get. The first
Absolutely,
one is
digital only. One thing, Metro News, we actually do O&O, so we do owned and operated for our digital, so we can put them obviously on the Star, we can put them on Metro News on the websites. But once again, as I pointed out earlier, I bring out the CPM cost, because when one client called Marley, she had said to me, well, I'm paying $50. I'm paying $50. Why would I go for print for a $75 ad, which is a very small ad, like a business card size ad? Why would I do that if I'm paying $50 for this? And I actually told her to work out what she was getting, and she was getting, I think it was something like 5,000 impressions. And after she realized that, 5,000 impressions versus 300,000 people seeing it, it's like, wow, it's 60 times difference. And that was one of the key elements, obviously, making people realize that digital is a great way. Don't get me wrong, I use the internet all the time myself, especially for research. But, it's not the only way. And once again, it's saturated. As we pointed out earlier on with the Vancouver Realtor, there's 600-something thousand links on there. So if there's only 13,500 realtors, that means people are putting on 40 different locations. So one's going to get as much exposure as they can. So that was the primary way of overcoming digital.
Okay. And then what about newspapers, where they just say they don't do newspaper advertising anymore?
Well, that's one I hear. I used to hear a lot. Basically, when they say print is dead, and I say, well, it's very. I bring out the figures. We reach 156,000 households a day. Okay, if print is dead, how are we reaching those number of people? And they'd say, well, Google is reaching billions a day. And I was like, great. What page are you on Google? I said, basically, what's the chance of actually flicking to that page? In a paper, you're going to be going through the paper, reading the stories, and you're going to come across it. There is a reason. If you're on page 7 on Google, you're not going to get seen. If you're on page 7 in the paper, you're going to be seen because people are flicking through the paper, they're reading the stories, and boom, there you are. And our readership is also going up. So, I mean, print maybe, they say print is dead, but I think it was 92% of our readers actually read the print ads. How many people would actually read a banner ad? I think it was pointed out that, for example, Facebook, was it 92% or 98% of them don't actually look at the Facebook ads, which obviously for a lot of people is scary because they'd invested a lot of money in Facebook, and yes, people sometimes click on them, but they've not really got any business from Facebook. So kind of making them look very seriously at what they're actually advertising at the moment and what kind of results they're getting. Getting a click is not the same as getting a listing.
And so how did you overcome where agents expressed interest, but they just weren't ready to commit to advertising?
Basically, I'd say, okay, that's fine. But I'd point out the fact that I've got a list here, for example, 50 people, and there are 10 spaces for this feature. If you don't want it, that's fine. I'll give you a call back in a few weeks. However, you've got to understand I'm going to be calling you your colleagues and competitors. And if you don't want it, one of them is going to. Because once again, I'd refer to the fact, look, we know this information. Pulse has been around for around 30 years. So we know this information here is going to incite 12 people to buy. So if it's not you, it's going to be one of your competitors. And it's all about, like, to a degree, fear without making it seem aggressive.
Mm-hmm. So any other questions or objections that you encountered, or anybody else?
I had a couple of people that said to me, well, I used to advertise in print, but like a few years ago, never had any success. Mm-hmm. And once again, I point out the fact that one of the things I do is create special features. So I'd say, if you put a random ad in the paper, you may not get as much exposure. But obviously, if you're for example, we have a home section in the paper every Thursday. It's been around for 10 years. So we're going to put you in the home section. So on a Thursday, people read the paper for our homes. On Wednesday, they read it for jobs. On, for example, Friday, they use it for entertainment. Tuesday for cars. If you're going to be in a section that people are specifically picking up to read, okay, about homes, and you're in there, it's the best location for you.
Okay, and then any keys to like following up after the fact? Follow-up calls, follow-up emails.
Yeah, I mean, I normally follow up primarily by phone. I think it's a lot more personal, and I'll go with it like a lot of people here do. Oh, we have one left. Oh, we have two left. Obviously, I kind of put it on temporary hold for you whilst you were thinking of having to think about it. I'll give people normally a 24-hour. Say, do you want me to put on a hold for you for 24 hours? Because I've got 2 spaces left, and I've got 19 people I've got to call. I'd call and say, hey, I wonder if you liked it, because I've got someone else that would want it. Because normally, when we're actually doing a proper blitz, we're calling, me and Megan between us, probably 200 people a day. And so we'd say, look, we have 3 or 4 people actually lined up potentially interested, and we'd put a temporary hold for them and say, do you want it? And if they think, oh, if I don't take it, someone else wants it, even if they're not necessarily wanting it, as one person said to me, I don't want to book this ad, I don't need it, I already get a lot of business, but I don't want my competitors to get it, and that's why I'm booking. And he booked a year campaign.
Okay, great. And so now I'll just kind of open up for any general questions that people may have. Again, in the GoToWebinar control panel, if you have a question for Andrew, just type it in there and I'll be sure to ask him. Then one thing I want to clarify is the example presentation that I put up was for our fictional Oxdown paper, so those were not the actual numbers that Andy used in his market or his presentation. Okay, so as we wait see if there's any questions, I do want to mention that we do have more information about real estate presentations and a 5 to 10 minute webinar that John Marling did on how to make a presentation to a realtor, where he really focuses on the ability for the agent to get listings, not necessarily the sale itself. So if you haven't seen that yet, I'll be sure to send everybody a link to that today.
I mean, one of the things I would definitely say is that realtors have money. I mean, when I first started at Metro News, there was a popular misconception they had no money. But to be honest, they have very few people they've got to refer to when actually making a decision. And that's very important. When you call most companies, they've got to put it to another department. They've got to actually ask, hey, you've got to go ask a boss. They've got to go ask a partner. They've got to put it to a board. Mm-hmm. they don't have that issue. When you're with a realtor, 99% of the time, when you call a realtor, you're speaking to the person that actually makes the decision.
Okay, so we do have a question here. Were those real estate ads in display or the classified section of your paper?
To be honest, they're a combination of both. Most of them were display. The classified section is actually what we were bringing out in the middle of March. Because we found out that a lot of realtors, one company only had $100 a week budget, we're actually bringing out a special realtor section in the classified area. So we've got our normal adverts, Pandeeds, occasional jobs, etc. But from I think it's March, end of second week of March, we're bringing out a service directory just for realtors.
Okay, and is it possible for us to get a copy of that section when it's done?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then if anybody is interested in that, we'll be sure to share it. And if anybody's interested in the slideshow, the actual slides today, I can be sure to share those, so you can just send me an email. There's a request to that. And let me see if there's any other questions. All right, there's also a recording. I recorded the webinar today, so if you're interested, I can share that with you as well. I'll be sending out an email to everybody who attended today, so you can reply to that if you have any additional questions or want additional materials. And in that email, I'm going to be linking to the 10-minute webinar John did of how to make a presentation to real estate. So with that, if there's no more questions for today, thank you very much, Andy, for your time today. That was great. And we're going to be continuing these webinars for the next 5 weeks. So if anybody has any suggestions for future ones, please let us know. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.